and welcome to the final episode of No Prize Podcast for 2023. Even though this is actually dropping in 2024, we're
Yeah,
taping and it's New
yeah.
Year's. So,
So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
hey, I'm the professor. That's Johnny. Lucas missing in action today, but he'll be back. So, we got some final end of the year stuff to talk about.
We have.
The least of which is Disney Plus has dropped every single episode of What If in the last week and a half. So between Christmas and New Year's, we were, I would say, treated to a daily dose of What If season 2. You know, I thought the first season of What If was a strong offering for Disney Plus. Even back when that was airing, we were getting a Disney Plus show every couple of months, and it was the beginning of the watering down of the MCU. And I thought the What If offerings were fairly strong, hit or miss, but mostly hit.
Yeah,
I feel this is this latest offering, 9-episode series, and of which admittedly I've only watched the first 6. I've missed the last 3, or haven't watched them yet. Sorry, Johnny. But I think this is more of a strong offering. I think it's a continuation of same for me. I'm enjoying. I enjoyed immensely a couple of the early episodes, and the latest episode I watched was the Kahori episode where they introduced a brand new character in the the MCU, which was a little bit of a slog to get through, but I did think that it was fairly strong.
Okay, cool.
I'm interested in hearing what you think, Johnny, because I know you watched the entire series.
Right.
From what I understand, the second season, much like the first, where they scatter it so that you don't think they're connected, and then by the end, everything's connected, right?
Kinda.
Okay.
Kinda. All right. I think season 2 of What If suffers the same sort of problems that the MCU as a whole faces, and that without the big characters, who gives a rat's ass?
Very true.
I mean,
Though this is the What If is the only place that you still can see a Tony Stark or a What If Tony Stark.
Well, you say that some of those animations. I mean, that the Happy Hogan. I mean, they must have done some work because that looked nothing like him at all in any shape, way, or form.
Right.
I was like, oh my god, really? No. So first up is Nebula, and voiced by Karen Gillan, who does a thing. It's fine, but again, it's not particularly enthralling. It's like, who cares about what happens on Xandar? It has no impact. It's whatever. Then you get Peter Quill as a kid. It's like, and it kind of goes. The Grandmaster one, I bailed early on that one. I was like, that's it. I'm done. It's terrible. And then brings up a Captain Carter episode, and this is a quote from my wife directly from this morning. Mrs. H stated after we watched the last couple of episodes, the ones with Captain Carter are all right, but the others are total crap. So, and the Kahori one, I think they've missed the plot. I think they've missed the idea here. The idea is what if? Okay, what if alternates? What if alternative timelines? Not what if let's create something new. If you want to create something new, go and create something new. What if isn't about new things? What if is about reimagining of existing things? And on top of that, the amount of I get they want to be ethnically correct, and there's a shed load of alternate language in there, and there's loads of subtitles and stuff. But if I want to read that much Marvel, I'll pick up a comic book. You know what I'm saying? The Hella one seems a bit pointless. 1602 makes an appearance. Strange Supreme makes an appearance. I don't want to go too much into the final couple of episodes because you haven't seen them. What I will say, I mean, the animation style, is great. And it is quite fluid. And I quite like it that way. However, again, Mr. Trick. These are alternative universes. Why can't we have alternative animation styles to show that?
You know, I think they did that in Across the Spider Verse, right? They did different animation styles in that movie. I thought
Yeah,
that was great, and
yeah,
so I agree with you. If they're gonna do like a what if, then do different animation styles like Star Wars Visions, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, you talk about alternative universes, and everyone can't. The animation style can't be the same.
Yeah.
And the Steve Rogers, the non-powered Steve Rogers, man, that looks nothing like him.
Hmm.
The Happy Hogan doesn't look anything like it. One of the for me, one of the standouts was Lake Bell, who plays Scarlet
Black Widow.
Black
Bl-
Widow. Sorry,
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's character, the Black Widow. And I was like, where have I heard that voice before? Where have I heard it? And it took me a while to twig it. It's Poison Ivy from the Harley Show, and
Oh,
her sarcasm just dripped brilliantly. There's a bit of an unrequited love thing going on in there. Um, I think she was fantastic. And then my wife says the Captain Carter episodes are the best by far. The last episode, again, I'll say my wife's quote to you about this one. Man, that was noisy.
so a lot going on in the last episode.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too many details. Um, I will say this: there is when you talk about Captain Carter, there's always that moment where her and Steve almost get it together, and then
Hmm.
they don't. And I find myself, even though I know they're not going to, I still find myself caught up in the emotions that they don't. And I think this is a massive credit to the writers who play with this trope so often and get us to believe so much that this is the one and then pull the rug out from under us and we fall for it every time.
Yeah.
So the writers do a great job in that whole what if Captain Carter was Captain Carter, not Steve Rogers, Captain America. And that the love between them still exists and they still work with that a lot. So there's lots of good things about it. For me, there's more miss than hit. Um, if they did a Captain Carter cartoon show, I would be all over that. Like like Terry Kill on receptions. There you go. Um, honestly, it's such a great character, and well voiced, well acted. The scenes make logical sense. It just shows that whoever is the captain is kind of like the heart and soul of whichever multiverse they're in. So there you go.
Well, the good thing is, even though What If has been kind of a mixed bag, I do still think it's a pretty strong offering into the MCU as a whole.
Hmm.
It fits its space fairly well, um, and we did get the announcement that What If is continuing with the season 3, and actually dropped a little bit of a clip. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't.
Of the Red Guardian and Winter Soldier uh, driving away from the cops.
Oh, really?
There's a cop chase, and the cop is played by Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was interesting, and that was a little bit of a clip preview for season 3. So I thought that was interesting that we are getting a season 3, and
Lawrence Fishburne was in the Ant-Man movie, wasn't he?
yeah, he played Bill Foster, and
Uh,
so it was. I mean, it was obviously Lawrence Fishburne. They didn't really,
Animated it.
announce that, but it
Yeah.
looked like him and it sounded like him. So I was
Cool.
like, oh well, let's see. Maybe he's gonna be playing someone in a movie or something. I don't know.
Mm.
But anyhow, so next week we have all episodes of Echo dropping, right? I
I don't
imagine you're
know.
not very excited for that.
I am. Did the side give it away?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because it's the one of two Marvel projects we're getting from the MCU this year. We're only getting Echo, and then we're only getting Deadpool 3, right? No, Deadpool 3 is the only MCU movie coming out.
Well, I hope that's a period of consolidation. I hope they manage to work out how to get the X-Men the MCU. We watched, my wife and I started watching the X-Men, the first movie last night before falling asleep, and I still think it pretty holds up pretty well. That first one,
The first
yeah,
X-Men movie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
still like it a lot, definitely.
So we're
So
we're up on 20 years on that one, aren't we?
it's getting close to it, surely.
Wow.
Let's have a
Actually, I
look.
think it's over 20 years. I think that came out in 2002.
Let's have a look.
Wow.
X-Men movie.
But
No, so no, I'm not. I'm not overly. I'm not going to say I'm not overly fussed about Echo. It came out in 2000. There you go. Nearly
oh,
25 years.
well, there we
So,
go.
um, so yeah, I'm not really fussed about Echo. I had issues. I have problems with her in the book. You know, we looked at a couple of comic books, and
Yeah.
is she deaf or she's deaf, right?
Yeah, she's deaf. Yeah.
And she interacts with characters who speak behind her, and you're like, what? How's that work? You know,
Yeah.
how the guys behind her, she's facing that way, and
Yep.
yet she answers the question that the bad guy asks her. I'm like, I get she's supposed to be deaf, but you know,
So,
how she do that? How do you
so
do that?
it's selective superpower. I don't know.
Ugh, crazy.
It-
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the characters do tend to have selective superpowers, and that kind of rears its head a little bit in those finale of the What If selective powers. You know, I mean, the Flash is quick enough to stop the bad guy, to rescue the girl and catch the bad guy, and
Mhm.
yet somehow he's only quick enough in the show to save the girl, and then the guy disappears. You're like, where'd he go?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
Daredevil's only blind when they want him to be blind.
yeah,
When they want to
yeah, that's true.
point a finger at it, and they say, "Hey, take a look at this photo and
Yeah.
tell tell me what color is my costume."
I remember an episode of an issue of Captain America, and he's fighting Bullseye, not Bullseye, Crossbones, and he says something like, and Daredevil's like, "What's your name?" And Crossbones like, "Does my outfit not give it away?" And he's like, "Nope." You're a spandex guy? I don't know. What is it?
It's
I have to dig
it's
that
those
out.
little subtle jokes that we love. So,
Indeed. I have to dig that out for old timers.
all right, so let's jump into some comic reviews. I know it a little bit light, so New Year's. Um, Avengers Inc. 2000, 2000
Oh,
from 2023, the end of 2023, and it's
oh.
issue 4. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the credits here.
I've got them here for you. It's written by Al Ewing. Leonard Kirk is your artist. Alex Sinclair is your colorist. VC's Corey Pettit is your letterers. I don't have who the editors are.
I
Which
do.
is it? Oh, go on, go for that one then.
The editors are Martin Biro and Annalise Bisa, and Tom Brevoort.
Of course.
With of course, blame them if you don't like it. But what I'm saying is, how could you not like this book? This is probably the strongest Avengers book out right now, with some good intrigue, some really weirdo D-list villain characters, a big mystery. Yeah, come on, everybody loves D-list villains,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
some the intrigue of a returning. Is he a hero? Is he a villain? Is the most controversial Avenger ever, in my opinion, and just another step or another chapter in the Henry Pym Ultron Wasp relationship. Um, my argument really is with Marvel canceling books before they find their footing. And I
Hmm.
know we might disagree on this, Johnny, but
Well,
um,
you never know.
this book, when it was announced, was an ongoing, which quickly, by the time issue 2 dropped, was changed to a 5-issue limited series. Um, this book, I believe, had the bones and the beginnings and the structure to have a nice long run with some great characters that don't usually get the spotlight. Janet and this new character Victor Shade,
Mhm.
um, and then a host of revolving guest stars, like in this issue Moon Knight,
Yep.
um, and some other Jarvis is in this.
Yes.
To me, it feels like an Avengers book with a mystery type twist. Um, the the things going on in the background where they've platformed Hank Pym, utilizing the backgrounds of Scourge and that whole storyline to kind of take villains off the board. And and in this issue, you realize that the reason he's doing this is when he was apparently split from his relationship with Ultron. Ultron is out there and he's trying to figure out where Ultron is. So he's taking
Mhm.
villains off the board in order to figure out where Ultron is at this time. And of course, you realize at the end of the issue that Victor Shade is Ultron.
Dum dum
Surprise! Yes,
dum. I
but
genuinely was.
were,
I
were
was
you?
yeah, I was genuinely surprised because obviously I don't read this book like on a regular,
Yeah.
right? So I don't see the obvious clues and whatever. But I was flicking the book like, okay, something shady going on. And then when it came out, I was like, oh, of course, oh, yeah. It's really, I was no, it got me.
Well,
Got me.
I was sucked into the mystery, and all four issues actually. Even though now that we know it's a 5 issue limited series, I think there was a lot of stuff going on in the second and third issues that really were not essential to the overall plot.
Okay.
Um, but but I'm in the second and third issues. I don't think that at that point they knew it was going to be 5 issues.
Yeah.
So this issue is more of a barreling towards the ending so that Al Ewing could get everything in that he had initially planned to get in. So there are a lot of revelations in this issue, a lot more D-list villains than I think he planned on showing.
Hmm.
Um, and then just basically the revelation of the plot and where everything's going. I think this has overall been, like I said, this has been the strongest writing that
Hmm.
I've seen in a Marvel book in quite a while. Al Ewing usually hits it out of the park for me.
Hmm.
Not really enjoying some of the other stuff that he's putting out. I'm not really enjoying Immortal Thor,
Hmm.
um, but I loved Immortal Hulk. You know how much I've been talking about that.
Everybody loves Immortal Hulk. Oh
Uh,
my god.
I know, but his Avengers offerings have generally been very strong. He wrote Ultimates years ago,
Hmm.
um, and this is no different. I would love for Al Ewing to be on the regular Avengers book. And I hope that when the sales figures come out from this book, and what I'm sure they will show is probably a third issue that did much stronger than the second issue as word of mouth grew on this book. Probably
Hmm.
the fourth issue, and it's probably going to fall off again because they announced that it was going to be canceled. So
Hmm.
why would you continue to buy a book you know is going to be gone? Just wait for the trade. So uh, I'd be interested in seeing what the sales figures were to see if it was actually a justification of canceling the book. But this is from everything that I've read, people that I've talked to, this has been their favorite Avengers book in a long time. So
Okay,
what did you
cool.
think about it, Johnny?
Well, I liken this book very much to the Secret Avengers book from a few years back, where it's kind of not mainstream. It's kind of a little bit quieter. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more intense. Um, I was into the mystery. I love the mystery element of what was going on in the book. I thought the writing was bang on. I thought I was I was kind of um, strung along. So when the guy was at the start of the book, he's like saying, "What's his name? Henry something," and then he calls him something else later on. I'm like, I don't know who that character is, because the only Henry I think of is Henry Pym. It can't be him. And then of course it turns out like, check it out. Um, I kind of, I'm kind of on the fence about the cancellation thing because I think this type of book and this type of um, bait and switch, especially the climax of this one, I think it's this kind of trick that only works once in a while,
Yeah.
right? So if you were having like an ongoing series, and the theory behind the series that every 6 issues you get a mystery, and then the sixth issue is the big reveal and the big climax of it. You can only pull that trick once or twice before readers start getting ahead of it and think, oh yeah, okay, which one's going to be the whatever. You know, I'm not saying Al Ewing's that type of person or that type of writer, but if that's the kind of vibe that we're going for a book, then there would need to be something behind that to continue driving it forward. I think this book works great as a 6 issue. I think
Mm.
it works. Um, I think trade paperback sales will far outreach anything else. And I think you're right that a couple of earlier issues when they're still planning for the future. Some of those issues might not hit bang on right now because you're like, well, what was this point? What was the point of that conversation and so on?
Right.
Um, but overall, I thought this was a really enjoyable book. And I'm going to say something I don't normally say on this show. I've enjoyed all 3 books that we picked today. I
Ah,
thought, I think all 3 of them uh, stand up pretty well. This, I think, is probably the best out of the bunch for sure. Um, for sure. So, you know, the limited series I think works. I think what you could do if Marvel have any sense about it, instead of making it an ongoing thing, drop your 6th issue, great, cool, excellent. Wait a couple of months, 3 months or whatever, then do another 6 issue mini. You know,
yeah.
no one says that books have to be ongoing like into long runs. Dark Horse and Dynamite live off the idea of mini series and mini runs. So
Yeah.
I think you could do that massively, and then you don't have to worry so much about keeping everything in
They
continuity.
well, they do that with a couple of the characters, right? I mean, they do that with Carnage, where
Yeah,
they reboot their Carnage every few months. Same thing with Black Cat. Black Cat had like,
yeah,
3 minis back to back to back.
yeah.
Um, so
So you could. I don't see a problem of going sort of having a 6 issue run, taking 6 months off, then another 6 issues, taking 6 months off, and going that way. I do think, however, Al Ewing, yeah, great writer. On this, I'm the one person who doesn't like Immortal Hulk. Whatever. Are you saying you're not liking Jed McKay on Avengers?
that's not what I'm saying. Um,
Because Jed McKay is better than the last guy, right?
yes, yes,
There you go.
leaps and bounds better. And I'm actually enjoying what McKay's doing from the standpoint of having a set roster, a set team
Mm,
that appears in every issue. That they're the main characters in their own book. That was all of my arguments for the previous run. Um, are most of them are gone. So I do like what McKay's doing on Avengers now. It's just when I see Al Ewing, they kind of like, just go in this corner and write about these characters. Um, he always he always bangs on like the character, the personalities. The Janet feels like Janet when I'm reading this.
yeah, that's a good
Um,
call, actually.
the whirlwind character or Dave Cannon, interesting as Victor Shade, where you kind of think maybe he was the Vision at the beginning, but then obviously not. And then I was kind of wondering what the relationship was, but I knew this was going to be a big, excuse me, Hank Pym Vision Ultron book from the start when Hank Pym showed up at the end of the issue for issue 1.
Okay.
That was just the big question really was, is that the real Hank Pym or is it a multiversal version of Hank?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it is the 616 Hank, how the heck did he get back? Because the last we saw, he was combined with Ultron, and they did a really good job of explaining what exactly happened with the
Yeah.
split. So to me, great. The only problem you have in this particular series is where exactly does it occur in continuity? Because right now Moon Knight's dead in his book, but he's here in this book. Um, but
Ah, the
that's
big C word.
yeah. That's my only issue. But nobody pays attention to continuity anymore. So It's a minor issue at that. But great.
Did-
This is it's my pick of the week, Johnny. It's
I
my pick of the
agree.
week.
I agree with you on this one. And here's a question about continuity, though. Do you think people
Yes.
don't care about continuity so much because they can't afford to buy all the books?
Yeah, well, if you're gonna just pick up the trade, right? If you're gonna pick up the trade, you don't care when it was written and or what was going on in the other monthly books at the time, right?
Mm, yeah, yeah.
You're picking it up for that particular story, and if you're reading this story a year from now, or 6 months from now when the trade comes out, I mean, Moon Knight's probably going to be back to status quo anyway, right? So
True
yeah,
that. True
but
that.
anyhow, like I said, minor gripe. So anyway, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll jump into the last couple of books.
Sounds like a
What do
plan.
we? All right, let's. I'm trying to think of an ad. There we go. All right, make sure to check out the Definitive Crusade, all about DC Comics, airing on opposite weeks from when we drop. So, and starring that guy over there, Johnny. Yay! He's
Starring is probably the wrong word. Suffering me is probably the best way of saying
tolerating Johnny Hughes in all
it.
of our Undercover Case podcasts. So,
Yay!
um,
Cool.
all right. So next up, an offering from last week, actually, the original X-Men numero uno. Is this just a one shot, Johnny?
It's kind of a one shot, but it leads somewhere. It's like I think it's a setup book for something else. So this is written by Christos Cage, art by Greg Land, ink by Jay Leaston. Frank Diamata's on colours and VC's Clayton Cowles on letters. I don't have the editors. But this is the setup for the multiverse Logan gang that's due out early 2024. So the premise behind this book is that one of the phoenixes, is that the plural of phoenix? One of the phoenix,
Phoenix?
there's a phoenix. Every multiverse has a phoenix, right? That's kind of how it works. And some are good and some are bad, and this one's absolutely batshit crazy, pardon my French, and has done away with Magneto after killing Charles and going whatever, and creates kind of like a world where everything is calm and peaceful. But that's just kind of like it's like a duck on the water. You know what I'm saying? Is all that underneath? There's all sorts of turmoil going on. Phoenix or Jean has been using her telepathy to kind of gently nudge people into doing what she wants. So not outright control, I suppose. Anyway, Phoenix of another multiverse goes back and grabs the original X-Men from the 60s, but after they've been to the future in the Marvel continuity. So this is after they've been sent back with the minds wiped. She then gives them their memories back. Hey, look at you. And because of their unique time travel experience, sets them up against this other version of the Phoenix. And from there on, it takes a massive what if turn left. And it's Iceman versus Iceman, Angel versus Angel, Beast versus Beast, Cyclops versus Cyclops, Jean versus Jean, and oh my God, there's Onslaught and Magneto, and oh my God. So really, what we've got here is Marvel said. What I thought originally was Marvel was saying is our current books are so bad, we have to go back and talk about yet another in between the panels type of
Yeah.
story. But it's a lot more than that, actually. It reads really well. And if you know your Phoenix stuff, it's absolutely spot on. Greg Land is fantastic throughout this book, art-wise. With the exception, it's really tricky for him to draw young Jean in a non-sexualized way.
Yeah.
And you can see the struggles, how he kind of has her like in like kind of teen poses, but then doesn't get quite the proportions right, and you're like, oh, he's trying his best, bless his cotton little socks. But the Phoenix, absolutely gorgeous all the way through this book. He's absolutely got his A game on that. I will say the cover, who's not, I think it's by Ryan Stegman, the cover. This is a current trend because I think, look at Cyclops' right hand. How big is that hand? You know, on
That's
the
a
cover.
ham hock. Yeah.
That's like that. That must be his secondary mutation coming to fore. That's what I think. I suppose the knock on this, the problem with this book is its curse and its savings. To be honest, Marvel 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if they did this book 3 years ago, they would have had it would be a six issue run, setup issue, then an issue where they all take on Iceman, an issue where they all take on the Beast, an issue where they all take Angel, and then the final issue where everything comes together. This is, as you say, it's kind of a one-shot leading to the multiverse of Logans down the line. But then part of me thinks to do away with the good X-Men, convince the bad X-Men pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
Of the folly of their ways. I would have liked to have seen that extended a little bit.
That's very true.
Because I think if you're someone's warping your brain using telepathy or telepathically, surely to God, it's not just a case of, oh, look there, I've shown you, you're all healed. You know, there's got to be something behind that. So, could this have been a 2-issue? I would have taken 2 issues. I would have taken 2 issues of this. I wouldn't have wanted to see 6 issues of it. But
how much of that do you think would have been Greg Land not just being fast enough? You know,
I don't know. There's an awful lot of tell not show in this book.
Yeah,
and I guess part of that, I don't know. If you're used to watching the What If TV show, for example, a cartoon, you always get Jeffrey Wright, who's fantastic, by the way, as the Watcher.
Yes,
gives you the rundown of what's different about this Earth. You know, so we're now getting into that kind of used to that narrative of we're going to tell you what's gone on. We're not going to show you. Comic books don't work quite the same way.
Yeah,
and that you do have the ability to tell, and they do all right. But I just think could you have done a little bit more? Could have put I don't know. Greg Land, he starts on the rise again at Marvel. He's been doing some really decent stuff, and I don't mind his work at all.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I think he's, he's got his style, and people may not like it for the curves and whatever, you know, but that's his style, and he's happy with that style. And if you like it, get it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. It's as simple as that. I've said that for ages now. For me, I like it. I think it works really well. Does it work better on the girls than it does on the male characters? Yes, it does. But then, that we buy comic books for the fantasy element, not just for the continuation of. If it didn't look great, we wouldn't buy the book, right?
I think we both agree that no matter how good the writing is, if it doesn't look great, you're not going to buy it, right?
Yeah, I can deal with. It's ironic because I can deal with good writing with bad art for a short while.
Yeah,
but I can't do bad writing with good art.
Yeah.
because otherwise it's just a poster book. Um, but Christos Cage, I think he does a great job in kind of making sure that he's got all these timelines in a row. You can see
Hmm.
he's clearly put the effort in. I mean, we're talking about the existent Dark Days of Future Past Phoenix. We're talking about the
Yeah.
gang when they were in the future, when they met the future selves. We're talking about the gang when they went back to 1963 X-Men. Now on top of that, you've got an alternative universe Phoenix going on. Two of them, in fact. It's like
Yep.
that's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, and he does really well. Um, yeah, I don't know what Land's like speed wise, but I no, I definitely would have taken the second book. I wouldn't want six. No.
This so this book for me, when as I was going through it, I was like, oh, it's another Phoenix bad guy book, where the X-Men have to save the world from Phoenix before she destroys the universe again.
Hmm.
Um, but the way the story was told in a way to set up something else, I thought was kind of fun, you
Yeah.
know, where you're right. I think the characters look great in this book throughout.
Hmm.
I thought, and I did, and I thought they looked just slightly different from the others, even though the costume changes. Like Original Angel looked slightly different, it looked older,
Hmm.
looked bigger. Iceman with Iceman, it did look to me like I think he might have been using some photo reference with some of like Bobby Drake or whatever.
Well,
Um,
that's always been the knock. That's always been
yeah,
the knock on
you're
Chris
like,
Lance,
what actor
definitely.
does that guy look? Does that drawing look
Yeah.
like? I can't quite figure it
Mhm.
out, but I know it's an actor I've seen
Which
before.
which
You know.
porn star does that Jean Grey look like?
I'm trying to remember the artist that did that all the time, but
No, no, there's a whole host of them, and that's
yeah,
fine. I think I've seen it's either a Miss Mark, I think it's a Power Girl. I've got a Power Girl cover, and I swear to God, the photo they've used Jenny McCarthy. Do you remember her from MTV? They
of
used
course,
Jane,
yes.
they used Jane McCarthy as the face model because it's like the spit of her. I'm like, oh yeah, Jenny McCarthy for Power Girl. Yep, well, that would work.
I'm trying to remember the name of the Iron Man artist that made Tony Stark look like Sawyer from Lost. And it was like
Um,
the expressions. I was like, "Oh my God, there's so many publicity photos being copied here." But
but I mean, I think to an extent, some you can blame some of the Ultimate Universe for that because the Ultimates went out of their way to kind of show.
yeah,
So like Nick Fury looks like Samuel L. Jackson even before the
from
Avengers
Jump,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
before
looked
the
like
movie
from
comes
Jump.
out. Yeah, yeah. So you kind of get that. I guess I've told you the story about the Comic Con, right? I went to a Comic Con a few years ago, and an artist, Sally, someone said to this artist, "Oh, can you draw a Venom picture for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, no worries. It's £40 or whatever it was." And then on the way around back round, because I went around a couple of times, I saw the artist on the phone with a picture of Venom on there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, how do you not, you're a comic book artist, how do you not know what Venom looks like?
Oh, and yeah, I mean, I could speak to that. I mean, we at cons all the time talking to artists, and they're doing commission work, and yeah, they cannot be expected to remember costumes, and that's like I've had we had Joe on the show
Yeah,
just last week. Uh, I've been sitting there when Joe is pulling out Google and looking up the proper costume to draw for a specific character that someone asked him to draw, and he even like looks for photo reference for certain poses with
yeah,
I believe he did a commission for 13th Crusader when we were there, like a depth stroke versus I can't even remember, but I can remember Joe coming around the other side of the table with like doing like him in 13 doing poses, and I was having to take pictures with my phone so that he could use it as photo reference when he did the commission. So
So I mean, so artists do use photo ref, of course they do,
yes,
and that's fine. That's part and parcel of what you have to do, I think. Um,
yeah,
that
I meant
said,
to
I
use it
also
as photo reference for, um, for characters, for
yeah,
faces and stuff like that. For
as long as you put your own twist on it, surely, God's buzz.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
it's cool. But I
Um,
thought this book was. I thought this book was a fun read. I thought it was. You know, I thought, yeah, I do get tired a bit of the Phoenix, but
well, we've been talking quite a bit because I know when these Marvel books come out that are kind of throwbacks
hmm
to like previous creative teams and everything. This is kind of one of those, but this one is a little bit different that it's actually running into something that's coming out next year.
mm.
So,
I mean, I
um,
personally, I have no interest in the many Logans of the multiverse at all in any stretch of the imagination.
oh
Yeah,
no, because there's so many.
there's so many, and B, it's like they're not that different from each other. It's not
No,
like
not at all.
it's not like I suppose in a lot of ways, it always feels like Wolverine at different times. You know,
Yeah,
so we'll get him when in the American Civil War, we'll get him in World War I, Wolverine, and then we'll get and so on and so forth. But in my own head, they're the same Wolverine. They're not different ones. At
yeah.
least when you got different Peter Parkers in the multiverse, in the Spider Verse, for example, they are different Peter Parkers. You know, the Peter Parker from Gwen Stacy's universe didn't even have spider powers.
It was the lizard.
Yeah, so there you go. So I just think having multiple versions of the same, essentially the same character, um, it just I don't know, it just wouldn't work. I don't know,
Yeah.
but Wolverine sells, so what do I know?
Does Wolverine still sell?
I don't know. Do you know
No,
who? Do you know who would know?
Lucas.
Lucas would know. Lucas, you've let us down, you son of a.
Uh, well, he'll have to answer that question next time.
Oh, well,
Um, all right,
time,
well,
good
let's,
time fire because I've lost a book. Where was that? There it is.
oh,
I thought I'd lost it.
it's lost to time.
Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. Uh, there we go. Close that one. Right, here it goes. Whew.
All right.
Here
So
we go.
it's going to be the end of the is this the end of the year or the beginning of 2024? It's the look ahead. This is the third timeless book in 3 years, and this has basically become a kind of an anthology book of what's to come
Yeah, yeah.
in the next year. So we have written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. Artist is Juan Cabal. Color artist Edgar Delgado with letters by VC's Travis Lantham. Um, and if you didn't like it, it's the same editorial team as Avengers Inc. Martin Biro, Annalise Bisa, and Tom Brevoort.
What's
Um,
with the big hand? Oh my God! It's an illness.
oh, we're looking at the big Power Man fist.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is just a weird. Um,
Look how big it is compared. Look at his forearm compared to the rest of him.
it's really big, but I think it goes to the fact that in this book, can we call this guy Future Cage?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
I mean,
okay.
Future Cage has a bunch of different things going on. He's like cosmically powered. He's got the power of the Hulk, and he's got the Iron Fist. So he's kind of absorbed a whole bunch of stuff. Um, they don't really explain how he gets it. He just has it. So whatever. Um, it's kind of this is kind of
Bit
like
harsh.
this is like you just have to accept this. Like this is the future of what's coming up in Marvel for 2024 being told through the eyes of this
Far
future
future.
Luke Cage.
Yeah.
And you would think that future Luke Cage would have been a bit more progressive and not be wearing chains. Um,
That comes
which
in. There's a reason for that, though, isn't there?
yeah, I think so. And so the big reveal is he's fighting with Moon Knight or a new iteration of Moon Knight and Khonshu. Um, and so those are they're diametrically opposed. So that seems to be or going to be the big theme for the next year,
Mhm.
or at least the starts of it. Um, but it turns out that this new Moon Knight is Danny Rand, Iron Fist. So it's we have a Power Man versus Iron Fist. I wish this kind of revelation that came about 3/4 of the way through this issue wasn't totally telegraphed in page 1, which I'm sure you probably caught too, right?
Yeah.
So
There we go. Yeah.
it's the by far the most interesting parts of this book are um, the parts where either he's falling through time through shattered glass, and you
Yeah.
get to see in the little shards uh, the scenes of things to come. Or what are we going to see in Marvel this year? Couple of nice little surprises, but I mean, not a lot that really is totally surprising. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
there's one that's you go Green Goblin. I'm like, oh, shocking! The Green Goblin's coming back. Like, we
Yeah.
didn't see that coming. A
I
couple of things are confusing that I don't exactly know what's going on. It looks like there's going to be a storyline with Arnim Zola, and like it looks like all the villains are zombies. I don't know if you saw that. Um,
Marvel Zombies is coming back. I did know
oh,
that.
maybe that's what it is, but
What's
obviously,
going on with Miles? Miles seems to be disappearing. What's that
yeah.
about?
That was maybe he goes back to the Ultimate Universe. I don't know, because I mean the Ultimate Universe is coming back, right?
As long as they take Spider Boy with him.
Yeah, we see Doctor Strange as the Sorcerer Supreme.
With the Bambino.
Yeah, yeah,
That's probably what of all the future, and this is let's remember that this is quite a clever way of doing this, because we're talking about like far future Cage is looking back on his life and to see what's gone wrong and what's gone right, but his history is our future, so it hasn't happened to us yet. So
yes,
it's kind of a nice way to kind of backdoor time travel in, to
yeah,
kind of rather than have like a time device like you can. What I found interesting, the most interesting part of all of this, of course, is for me the Stephen Strange and Clear baby. I think that's class. Um, it also strikes me because the last two issues of this had Kang as the lead.
yeah,
Um, seems to me that Marvel comic books are trying to distance themselves away from Kang as much as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is trying to distance themselves away from Kang. That is the impact
very
of what's
true.
going on. And,
Yep,
and you're like, okay, um, Lanning and Kelly, they're independent writers primarily, who have kind of come across to do the one shots for Marvel. So it's kind of very much like Alex Paxnadel, who kind of an indie writer who then comes on and does the one shots to kind of give them some push. I think apart from the Telegraph start, I think they do a decent job. Interested to see Carol Danvers in the Miss Marvel swimsuit though, on the spread. And I thought to myself, is this like a harken back to Cage in the 70s?
yeah.
To kind of like from whence he came. But on the same panel, you've got Sentinel and you've got Jessica Jones. So I'm like, are we trying to say that Carol Danvers is going back to the swimsuit?
That would be nice. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they showed a lot of like sentries in in that picture too.
Yeah, yes.
So it's it's like, who are they bringing back? Ronan is back
Yeah.
there too. So I mean, we haven't seen Ronan in 10, 15 years. So like I said, I like these because it leads to a lot of speculation. And then it's I know we were talking, I think, before we started airing, like um, what what did we see last year in the other two timeless issues that didn't happen?
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
that's a
like
good
it
call.
was like a good, oh, that looks interesting, but then just we never saw. So,
I
but
can't
some of
remember.
this,
I can't remember back there. You know what? It'd be interesting to go back. We should maybe go back one time and say, right, this is the previous issue of Timeless. Let's see what happened and what was promised. It's kind of like that Babylon 5 episode where you see the station blow up and you think, oh my God, it's because the shadows are coming. And no, it got blown up
yeah,
because it was like it's the end of its turn. That was it. It's done. 20 years in the future, it gets blown up because it's derelict. Such drama.
Right. So the thing that makes me wonder on this issue is, do we actually see this older version of Power Man and this Moon Knight version of Iron Fist? Do we see them again somewhere, or was this like a one shot to show what
Well,
was coming out?
that last panel, you see the guy floating in space is
Yeah.
regenerating as we speak. So, are we going to have Old Man Cage in the Marvel book proper?
That's the question. So
I don't mind that so much. I don't think. I'd be interested. I mean, I know the Old Man thing is kind of passe now, but
yeah,
let's try something different. Because I mean, you've got to think he's currently for all the fact that he's the mayor of New York. It doesn't seem he's mentioned in a lot of books. You very
yeah.
rarely see Cage anywhere.
Even in the latest Gang War storyline, he's even got his own series. But other
Yeah,
than that, he's not really appearing in the other books. Even though they're talking about him a lot with the law that they have against superheroes currently right now.
yeah.
So
It's crazy how you can have such a powerful idea of having Luke Cage as mayor, and then you don't do anything with it. It,
mm.
it, it, it baffles me. Um, I mean, even the Thunderbolts aren't even used anywhere. Um,
Well, until that, well, they just launched a new mini series last month,
but
but they're
didn't they
not
have
used in any of the other books.
when they didn't have a mini series last year with Captain Marvel in it? The Monica Rambeau Marvel Photon. Is it Photon now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they did, but I thought they just had a one shot last month with kind of the
No.
lineup from the movie coming out, which apparently isn't coming out till 2025 now. But anyway, hey,
Synergy.
what are you gonna do?
I didn't mind this book. I thought it was the timeless book. I thought it was okay. For me, it's the weakest of the three that we've looked at today. Um, Still an interesting read though. Um, yeah, still interesting. I like the dialogue. I like the kind of thing. There's one element that I didn't like. There's there's a speaking pattern towards the beginning of the book, and Cage is saying, "I am this, I am that, I am whatever." Um, and then the last panel says, "I am become whatever," and I'm like, dude, that's I understand the pattern
Yeah,
idea. I understand the idea of having beats of speech to prove a point, to clarify what you're trying to say, to draw the reader in. But please use correct tense when you're doing it, because it
but
just I am become makes no sense whatsoever. Surely that should be I have become.
well,
Uh,
it's more like poetry or
it's trying to
something,
be, yeah. It's just
and he's
absolutely,
not a poet. He's not. Luke
and,
Cage is not a
and he
poet.
knows it. He's not a poet, and he knows it.
Yeah,
Other than that, these types of things, I enjoy them for what they are. Stuff that could happen, stuff that couldn't happen. You never know what's going to happen down the line. Is Doc Strange book going to get cancelled? Is Amazing
the
Spider-Man
answer to that
Spider-Man?
is yes. We just don't know. It's going to reboot the next month.
Yeah.
So,
So these things tend to. Uh, it's not cast in stone. Hard to see the future is, said someone once, who's far wiser and greener than I am. There you go.
right. All
So.
right, so there we go. That's the end of 2023 for No Prize Podcast. Be
No,
here in 2 short weeks as we kick off 2024 with you know, who knows what's coming. We know that we're not getting a lot of MCU stuff. So,
no.
hey, you know, we'll take a look at what's coming at the Marvel Universe. I'm predicting lots and lots of sidekicks.
Oh, you're killing me. Why would you do that? Son of a.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what
Oh,
Dan Slott comes up with. I certainly hope it's better than the premise. So,
I hope it's better than I hope it's better than just rehashing his old stuff again. I mean, Spider Verse, and then the Superior Spider Man again. It's like, oh my god.
yeah, it's let's see if I can squeeze some more juice out of this.
Yes, let's do that. All right then, excellent.
All right. So we will see you in 2 weeks. And until then, Happy New Year.
Happy
Stay
New
safe.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Adios.